I can't tell you where I see myself in 5 years, but I can tell you that I will work my best to be the most successful artist.
Rihanna sold 60 million albums. She has 14 #1 singles, more than any female artist except Mariah Carey. She toured the world. She won a Grammy. She became one of the most streamed musicians in history. And after 15 years of all of that, she had earned about $200 million from music. Then in September 2017, she launched a makeup brand called Fenty Beauty. 40 days later, that brand had made $100 million. Within 4 years, Rihanna's stake in Fenty was worth more than 7 times what 15 years of music had paid her. So how did the most successful female artist of her generation make more money in 40 days of selling lipstick than she did in 15 years of selling songs? The answer has nothing to do with beauty. It has everything to do with one word she negotiated into her contract. In 2003, Robin Rihanna Fenty was a 15-year-old girl in Bridgetown, Barbados. Her father struggled with crack cocaine addiction. Her mother worked to keep the family together. Rihanna sang in a girl group with 2 friends from school. An American music producer named Evan Rogers was visiting Barbados on vacation. Someone introduced him to the trio. He was so impressed by Rihanna that he invited her to fly to New York to record demos. She was 16 years old. Rogers shopped her demo around. It eventually landed in the hands of a man who would change her life forever, Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, then the CEO of Def Jam Records. In 2004, Jay-Z signed her to a 6-album record deal. 6 albums. That's the kind of contract a label uses to lock down an artist for the next decade or longer. Her debut album dropped in August 2005, Music of the Sun. It sold 1.76 million copies, modest by 2005 standards. 8 months later, in April 2006, she dropped a second album. A Girl Like Me sold 3.77 million copies. Her trajectory was already steeper than almost anyone in the industry. Then came the breakthrough. June 2007, Good Girl Gone Bad, the album that contained Umbrella, the song that would sell over 8 million copies worldwide and make her a global superstar overnight.
You have my heart, and we'll never be worlds apart.
By 2008, she had won her first Grammy. By 2010, she was a touring powerhouse. By 2013, she had become the youngest solo artist in history to land 12 #1 Billboard hits. And here's a piece of the music industry nobody tells you about being a global pop star. Selling music isn't where the money is. In 2007, the year Umbrella conquered the world, Rihanna earned roughly $50 million from album sales, touring, and endorsements combined. 2 years later, in 2009, she was almost bankrupt. Her income had crashed from $11 million down to $2 million in a single year, partly because of bad property advice from her accountant. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does a global star go broke? I saw a lot of you asking this same question in our last video on the music business, and the answer is almost always the same. Predatory accounting, bad real estate advice, and a financial team that gets paid a percentage of gross income, not net. The bigger the star, the more people there are taking a cut before the artist sees a dollar. Think about that. The biggest pop song of the decade, the Grammy, the world tour, and 2 years later she was nearly broke. That's when Rihanna started paying attention to where the money actually goes. Here's something I learned digging into her old contracts that most people miss. When Rihanna signed her 6-album deal with Def Jam in 2004, she got a record advance. The label paid her upfront to make the music, but the label kept the masters. Every dollar generated from her songs flowed to Def Jam first. She got a small royalty. According to industry analysis, a typical major label artist keeps about 6.6% of total music sales revenue. So when Rihanna sold 41 million albums and 150 million singles, those records generated approximately $749 million in retail revenue. Her cut from sales, roughly $49 million. The label kept the rest. This is the secret of the music industry that most artists never figure out until it's too late. You don't make money from music. The people who own the music make money from music. But Rihanna had something most artists didn't have. She had a working brain for business and a near bankruptcy in 2009 that taught her exactly what she could not afford to do again. In 2014, when her contract with Def Jam ended, she did something almost no female artist had done before her. She demanded ownership of her masters. She walked out of Def Jam owning every album she had ever recorded. 8 studio albums, hundreds of songs. The masters were hers. But there's a deeper move I want to point out, because almost every analysis I've seen of her career skips right past it. While her music industry peers were chasing the next album, the next tour, the next endorsement deal, Rihanna stopped recording music almost entirely. Her last studio album, Anti, came out in January 2016. After that, she stopped. For the next decade, she would not release another studio album, not one. And here's what nobody understood at the time. While her competitors were grinding out tour dates and album cycles, Rihanna was building something completely different. In September 2017, she launched Fenty Beauty in partnership with Kendo Brands, a division of LVMH, the French luxury conglomerate behind Louis Vuitton, Dior, and Christian Dior. I was looking back at the Sephora launch data from 2017, and it's actually wild. Most brands were playing it safe with 12 foundation shades, maybe 20 if they were ambitious. Rihanna forced the entire industry to pivot. Fenty launched with 40 different foundation shades, designed deliberately to fit every skin tone from the palest white to the deepest brown. The industry called it the Fenty effect, because suddenly every other beauty brand had to expand their shade ranges or get left behind. The numbers were instant. 40 days after launch, Fenty Beauty had generated $100 million in revenue. By the end of 2018, just over a year after launch, the brand was doing $500 to $70 million in annual revenue. Now compare that to Rihanna's music. Her best year as a recording artist was 2007. Umbrella, global superstardom, $50 million, total earnings across all music sources. Fenty Beauty made twice that in its first 6 weeks of existence. I want to put Fenty's launch in context because I don't think people appreciate how rare this was. Kylie Cosmetics, launched by Kylie Jenner in 2015, took 3 years to hit similar revenue numbers that Fenty Beauty hit in its first month. Lady Gaga's House Labs, launched in 2019, never came close to Fenty's first-year numbers despite having a global pop superstar attached. Even Drake's tequila brand and Kim Kardashian's Skims, both wildly successful, took years to reach valuations that Fenty crossed in months. What Fenty had that the others didn't was timing combined with structural advantage. The timing was the inclusive beauty wave that Rihanna saw coming before anyone else. The structural advantage was LVMH, the most powerful luxury distributor in the world, placing the brand in front of every customer they could find globally the day it launched. Most celebrities don't get LVMH tier distribution. They get a deal with Walmart or Target, or worse, a direct-to-consumer only model where they have to figure out marketing themselves. Rihanna got Sephora rollout from day one, the most valuable shelf space in beauty retail. And while Rihanna was sitting on that ownership stake, the brand kept growing. By 2018, Fenty Beauty was hitting $570 million in annual revenue. By the mid-2020s, it had stabilized around $600 million per year. But she didn't stop at one company. In 2018, she launched Savage X Fenty, a lingerie brand built around the same inclusive philosophy: different body types, different sizes, different races, marketed to everyone the traditional lingerie industry had ignored. By 2021, Savage X Fenty had reached a $1 billion valuation. Rihanna's 30% stake alone was worth approximately $300 million. Then came Fenty Skin in 2020, Fenty Hair in 2024, each one feeding into the same ecosystem at Sephora and other major beauty retailers. Now stack the numbers. 15 years of music, roughly $200 million in lifetime earnings. Her business stake in Fenty Beauty alone, at peak, $1.4 billion. That's 7 times more wealth from one beauty brand than from her entire recording career. And here's the part that makes it sting for traditional artists. Rihanna achieved this without releasing a single new studio album for 10 years. When Forbes officially named her a billionaire in 2021, she had not put out new music in 5 years. The wealth came from owning companies, not from singing songs. She figured out something that almost no major artist before her had figured out. Your fame is the most valuable asset you'll ever own. Don't rent it out. Use it to buy companies. And to be clear about how rare this playbook is, most celebrities still don't run it. When Beyonce launched her activewear brand Ivy Park, she initially partnered with Topshop and the deal collapsed. She later restructured with Adidas, but the brand never reached Fenty Beauty's scale. Even successful celebrity business pivots like Ryan Reynolds with Aviation Gin or George Clooney with Casamigos required full ownership structures that most artists can't negotiate because they don't have the leverage Rihanna had. Rihanna had 3 things working for her at the negotiation table that other celebrities didn't. First, she had stopped releasing music. which meant she had infinite negotiating patience. She wasn't desperate for a quick win. Second, she had already shown commercial discipline by demanding her masters back from Def Jam. LVMH knew she would walk if the terms weren't right. Third, the inclusive beauty thesis was hers, not LVMH's. Without Rihanna, the brand had no story. That's the real lesson. Fame alone doesn't create wealth. Fame plus leverage, plus patience, plus a unique idea is what created Fenty Beauty. But here's where I think the conventional take on Rihanna gets it wrong. Most people look at the billion-dollar valuation and assume she's set for life. After spending weeks on this, I'm not so sure. The wealth she built is more fragile than the headlines suggest. In 2025, Forbes' list of America's richest self-made women showed Rihanna's wealth had dropped from approximately $1.4 billion down to $1 billion, a 29% decline in 1 year. Why? Several reasons. Fenty Beauty's sales had plateaued. The Chinese market launch struggled. Savage X Fenty's CEO left for Victoria's Secret, and the broader celebrity business boom had cooled. Investor enthusiasm for influencer-driven products had declined. The thing that had made Fenty so revolutionary in 2017, the fact that a celebrity could disrupt an industry, had become so common by 2024 that markets stopped paying premium valuations for celebrity-backed brands. Then there's the harder problem. Fenty Beauty makes most of its money from the same product that launched it, foundation, and foundation is increasingly being replaced by skincare, sunscreens with tints, and hybrid products that don't sit in Fenty's category. Rihanna also failed at her most ambitious bet. In 2019, LVMH made her the first black woman to lead a luxury fashion house. The brand was called Fenty Maison. 2 years later, it was shut down. Pandemic challenges, production issues, and a price point that the market wouldn't accept all combined to force LVMH and Rihanna to pause the venture indefinitely. Even billionaires lose bets. So here's my prediction for 2027. I think we're going to see Rihanna exit her LVMH stake entirely, or at least restructure it. Here's why. The Fenty Beauty growth story has stalled. Foundation as a category is shrinking, and LVMH has been quietly trimming non-performing assets. If I were advising her, I'd tell her to sell at the current valuation, lock in the cash, and redeploy into something newer. Maybe wellness tech, maybe a media platform, maybe even a comeback album that drives her catalog value back up before she sells the masters again. The other scenario I'm watching is the opposite play. She releases new music to drive cultural relevance back up, then uses the renewed attention to negotiate a higher buyout from LVMH. Either way, my read is that the next 2 years are about exit strategy, not expansion. So here's what Rihanna actually proved. Not that beauty is a better business than music, but that ownership beats fame. Every single time. 15 years of selling songs paid her $200 million. One ownership stake paid her 7 times more. The lesson isn't to quit music and start a beauty brand. The lesson is older and simpler than that. If you're famous, you have one asset that you can never make again, your name, and the people who borrow it will always make more money from it than the people who lend it out. Rihanna stopped lending out her name. She started using it as collateral to buy companies. That's the difference between being rich and being a billionaire. Most artists die famous. Rihanna chose to die rich. My bet is she's about to do it one more time by selling out at the top.